The film begins with a demonstration by Faraday. He wants only one thing: to find out how they came to be on Earth. Shortly before, an unknown object flies across the galaxy and falls to Earth. Inside was Faraday, but with a different appearance. 1 minute later, he takes on human form. The day comes when Faraday makes his presentation. He has managed to find a new step in evolution, but before the discovery, there's an amazing story to tell. As soon as Faraday got to Earth, he lost his family, but was given the goal of learning to be human. A little later, Faraday finds a car repair shop. He's overcome by an incredible thirst. The police notice a man who can't let go of the hose. The man pulls out the hose, and Faraday starts repeating the police's words. One of the officers fires a taser, moving Faraday to the police station. There he begins to learn a lot of new information, from the sound of a butterfly flying to lip movements. Somehow he gets distracted by an officer. Faraday says he has an important mission for 8 hours and the exact coordinates, but they're distracted by a phone call. Faraday hears it perfectly, much to the officer's shock. She asks where he was born, and Faraday points to the sky. The woman thinks he's crazy and wonders if there's a man ready to take him away. Faraday gives the name Justin. She works cleaning up toxic waste. She needs money to buy medicine for her sick father, since he's terminally ill. This forces the girl to ask for a more difficult job, but she doesn't like what she is offered. One day, she gets a call from the police. She has no idea who the man is. Faraday starts repeating scientific terms written exactly to her. At the very beginning, he was ordered to find Justine. She managed to come closest to fusion in the universe, but she was missing one little piece of knowledge she can't know about. Justine still thinks he's crazy and just walks away, just like Faraday stole the phone. Upon reaching the pawn shop, a huge amount of gold rings spew out of his mouth. You can get $25,000 for it, but the woman wants to give much less. A little later, he remembers his days on his home planet. There, a special mechanism absorbs the clouds, but his dreams are interrupted by a violent impact. Justin notices this and decides to help him. Faraday manages to convince the girl to help him. Justin punches in the coordinates that lead to the shiprock, 230 kilometers away, with only 6 hours to go. Once in the car, Faraday doesn't realize where the capsule is. That's usually where he traveled in them. During the journey, he falls asleep in a second and is transported into memories, where he survived on a nearly destroyed planet with his family. A little later, the duo stop at a petrol station. Faraday finds a container of water and dips his head in it. The employee doesn't understand why her friend wants to take her own life. Faraday is incredibly happy and buys the whole container. He also asks how horses live here, since on his home planet horses are predators. A little later, the duo stops outside a cafe. Faraday doesn't act quite right, forcing Justin to say he's autistic. Faraday takes a pen and writes a formula from the 3rd millennium, which was given to him by a friend known on Earth as Thomas Newton. It was Thomas who sent him to Justine. Where he comes from, the inhabitants are divided into 2 castes. One is the inventor, the other the performer. A little while later, the police are on them, and Justine has a gun. She wants to dump Faraday, but he says there are hardly any clouds left on Earth. Humanity has almost no time left. The duo finally arrive at the right place where there is absolutely nothing. Faraday admits he's an alien, and Justin will save his species from extinction. Obviously, this really scares the girl, and she tries to leave. Huge clouds form in the distance. Justin tries to save Faraday, but he is swallowed up by the tornado. Suddenly, he's transported to Thomas Newton. According to him, people with X-ray vision are looking for him. Faraday doesn't understand why Thomas hasn't returned to their home planet. Thomas believes it's up to Faraday to complete his mission. And first, he must retrieve the company that was stolen from him. The storm ends, and Justine sees Faraday's real face. This scares Justine even more, and she quickly leaves. Faraday returns to the cafe. At the same time, a CIA agent named Spencer receives data from 40 years ago. They also picked up a dual-directional signal from inside the tornado. 45 years ago, the same thing happened in the same place. There's only one person who knows about it, and he's still alive. By this time, Faraday is heading towards the airport. He realizes he doesn't have a passport, so he steals a taxi driver's ID. Already at the airport, all the equipment starts to glitch, and Faraday's disguise starts to fall off. Justine gets the call, and she picks up Faraday. Spencer finds a lonely house, which is where the target he needs lives. But he doesn't notice the man behind him. Spencer finds himself tied to a chair. The man checks to see who is sitting in front of him, alien or human. Spencer tells him that a signal came from the tornado a couple of days ago. The man says that he was able to take away the alien's sight, but the strength to fight is gone, and he is leaving this world. Faraday comes to visit the Justine family. When the father falls asleep, Faraday touches his body and takes away the disease. The man is instantly healed, and Faraday asks to continue on their journey. When they lifted Faraday, they were surprised by his incredibly low weight. Faraday is literally no heavier than a feather. He drinks a lot of water, then spews a black liquid that flies up into the sky. The whole next morning, Falls couldn't believe he was cured. Although not so long ago he had stage 4 cancer. So he asks his daughter to help Faraday. Before leaving, her father gives her his old things. The duo continues their journey. Faraday uses a tablet to better understand people's lives. Justine wonders how he managed to heal her father. Faraday responds by leveling his life. Far more importantly, they discuss their purpose. In the corporation's vault is Thomas Newton's 10th project, which he did not have time to complete. It is up to them to complete his work. A little later, they manage to find abandoned oil extraction rigs. Faraday opens the flap and pulls out an alien device from his stomach. It can take many forms and synthesize massive amounts of energy, which makes it easy to trigger the device. Faraday explains that it doesn't use radioactive material, but it's not cold fusion either, it's quantum fusion. From now on, this unit can run for decades, fueled by a small battery. It is this prototype that has made it possible to fly most of the galaxy. A 10th project is needed to recreate the regeneration of an element that will never end: Alaska. As soon as things quieted down, Spencer searches the hut and finds a hidden compartment with a film. According to the tape, the US government was well aware of the aliens, doing a lot of experiments. After viewing the tape, Spencer destroys the evidence. At this time, Faraday is swimming in a pool and observing the stars. From planet Earth, they look completely different. On his home planet since his birth, the sea has all but disappeared, and the animals have died. By now, their race numbers no more than a couple of thousand individuals, but the same fate awaits mankind by 2030. The Earth's temperature will rise above the survival zone. Justin asks for the blueprint for the device after she helps him. It's the only way humanity will have a chance of survival. Faraday agrees. A couple of days later, the duo finds the hatch. And to make him realize who they are, Faraday shows an ancient formula and that Thomas Newton sent them to him. That scares the man and he drives off. Spencer meets with his boss and tells him everything he's learned, including the 10th project that was never completed. It means only one thing: there's an alien among them. Towards evening, Hatch can't forget tonight's meeting and analyzes all the documents, and wonders at the complexity of the equation that led to the duo. He's always had a hunch that humans couldn't make such an equation. Most likely it was aliens. But if they want his help, they'll have to tell the truth. As soon as he learnt about fusion, his enthusiasm faded. Hatch is convinced that if mankind gives up oil, the whole economy will collapse and with it jobs. Justin says not to worry, if they don't, humanity will be destroyed. Langley. Spencer meets a girl who managed to catch an alien signal from the center of the tornado. Spencer offers to work for him. First, she has to read a secret document and find everyone connected to Thomas Newton. The next day, the group tries to devise a plan to fly to another country. Faraday can't get to the airport because of the scanners, and it is very difficult to get a passport because he has no fingerprints. Hatch suggests using a private jet. After a couple of hours, the group boards the plane. There, Faraday becomes ill, all because of the altitude difference. On arrival in London, the group arrives at a private exhibition. An hour later, the scientists present their new developments. Faraday notices an error in them and corrects it, then shows them a prototype of quantum fusion. Langley. Spencer's studying the security cameras that Faraday was caught on. He needs to wipe the evidence from all the servers, but catching him can't be done at this point in time. He can lead them to Newton. The group arrives at the estate of Miss Flath, Hatch's sister. It is his family that will help get them into the company. But their conversation is interrupted by Faraday with a request to explain what happened to Thomas. Clave mentions that Thomas's music was handed to him. Faraday asks to see the music. In the meantime, Spencer finds a woman who knew Thomas. As for Faraday, as soon as he activated the music, Thomas Newton popped into his head and shows their future, which is very upsetting to Faraday. Newton's experiences have traveled into his head and he can't extinguish them. This only entrenches the idea of ending the mission with success. Justin promises to see it through to the end with him. At this time, Hatch only makes things worse and she orders the group kicked out. But Spencer comes to their house and gently reminds them that the CIA has always covered for their family. They're the ones who gave them the Newton Company. That means only one thing: she's obligated to cooperate with Faraday. But she still tries to kick Justine out, because at the beginning of her research, an innocent man received a large dose of radiation. Faraday wonders what kind of radiation it was. Hearing the answer neutron, it dawns on him that Justine was able to activate fusion. So all the members of the group signed the treaty. So that was Spencer's ploy. Shortly before, the Faraday family walks along the ruined planet. Only at home can they be relatively safe. But to fulfill their mission, they have to give up the prototype. This is how Faraday left his planet. This issue comes to an end. If you want a sequel, write us about it in the comments. See you very soon. Bye.